how do you approach designing an organization differently for one product versus multiple products? Because I think with scale and with Rapid and just the explosion of different products and features that you all have been able to build out, I imagine there's been a big evolution in how you've had to approach it. So how did you start for one product? How that evolution look like for multiple products?
Yeah, so initially I was at scale for like our product market fit, which was primarily AV driven. And then I actually left to do VC in China for a year and then came back. Primarily the reason why I came back, it was at like a point where we're figuring out our multi-product strategy. And it would, to me, it would be fascinating to kind of see the company through what that would look like. I think we have a very fascinating internal structure that we've set up in place. We basically have a venture studio like structure where like the head of engineering Alex, they're like the VCs. There's like a back office which we call product acceleration, and then you have your portfolios who are like the product GMs. So it's like me, Melissa, Russell. Melissa runs document, Russell runs nucleus, etc. And so the way I think to make things work, and I think we look for a lot of inspiration at Amazon. They've done a great job with AWS. They had Candle, they had like Amazon Prime, all of that. They created really good products where it's not by acquisition, it's purely by product incubation internally. And so what you have to do is you just have to come up with like a stable product strategy. I was talking to someone about this yesterday. It's one, deciding whether like and for scale it's kind of what to build is not that hard to answer because we're in the ML space and the race is on and we're just trying to all eat up more and more pieces of the ML lifecycle. It's when do you build what? How do you build it in a way that propels like compounding advantages for your like products, i.e. you can either cross sell it better, etc., or you're enriching and making your ecosystem more sticky. And so that's one measurement, which is which products do you build first. That should help you think like the way to think about it early on is just like which products will get adoption, what advantage do you have, etc. And then once you've decided what to build and when, the question is how do you evaluate the products, right? When like traditional VCs would just evaluate you against like revenue, gross margin, your revenue goals, your growth rates. I think at scale it's both that and also how much are you contributing to the ecosystem, like how sticky are you creating, like so there's like a implicit factor like positive, basically a positive externality that your product creates that you have to evaluate as well. So it's a combination of both. And then there is like the question of like how long do you give each product, and then the question of like when do you double down, i.e. invest more into the product, and when do you cut it off. So these are questions that we've started thinking more about and answering as now we have like a lot more products, but I don't think we have the exact answer yet because like the oldest product is only like 2 years, right? And you could argue for some more of the enterprisey products that you need three to even start to like realistically evaluate it. And so that's kind of like the current state that we're in now.
I want to go specifically to the moment where the decision was made, like this is the multi-product moment where we're going from one to many. What was that moment like? And like, how does somebody, I think from an engineering leader perspective, help come to a determination we're ready for the multi-product moment?
There's like a framework that people use to think about core products. I think the way to phrase is like cash cow when it's like generate a lot of cash flow, but it's slowing down in growth. When your core product is slowing down in growth a lot, or you're projecting that in the next years that it will slow down growth, you kind of know that there's like an existential crisis of like how do I expand either what that core offering is offering, or do I build new products? And usually like you think of it like 1 or 2 years before you hit that point where it's like slowing down in growth, and you try really hard to figure out what do you build next. But then the second point to that is also like as a company the ambition obviously expands over time of like what you want to be, where you want to sit in the ML life cycle. And as you're expanding over time, you're obviously thinking about what do I need to build to get there. So it's like both factors kind of play a role in building out like the next new product. But the nice thing is like we did a good job, I think, in late 2020 in terms of like building out processes and like approvals like steps in place to facilitate it, and that was really helpful, I think, in terms of like having like a PR FAQ culture like Amazon, going through like presentations, etc. That has enabled a much smoother process in terms of like people building out new products.